It's so interesting. You talk to people and you go, so what's the plan? And we have no plans, right? There is no plan. And that's a very unusual place to exist in for people that are used to having some sort of schedule or plan. But I'm like, okay, well then we just give over.
You really think that this is a good idea? Moving into Jane's building?
Why wouldn't it be?
Because there are boundaries, Mary Louise.
Well, where would you have me go? Canada?
This is all beginning to feel a little perverse.
I beg your pardon.
You're moving in with your son's rape victim. For God's sake, it's not right.
In with her, in the same building complex.
No,
And by the way, I'm not as convinced as you are, perhaps, that she was a rape victim.
Oh my God,
You know, there are many, many questions that I still have. For instance, why was he even with her that night? What was he looking for? Or perhaps seeking refuge from?
What is that supposed to mean?
How many other women did he go to? If there's one, there are others.
Oh my God. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
No.
I shouldn't have done that.
What should we call that? Foreplay? Oh, dear.
Hi, Pete.
Hi. Welcome to Behind the Lens today. Today, oh my gosh, Academy Award winner, Emmy Award winner, Golden Globe winner, multiple nominations for all of those, and so many interesting projects that you're involved with now as a producer, an actress, as behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, which is so interesting. It's what we talk about on this show. So welcome, Nicole Kidman.
I would dance on if I could.
Yeah. How you doing? Nice to see you again virtually, however we are.
Yeah. The days of seeing you across a crowded room, I think, are a long way off, right?
It may be. It seems like that. You know, this is an interesting time, but one we seem to be adjusting to, at least. Yeah. And boy, I look at all the things that you're doing now in television, for one thing, with all these kinds of opportunities that have opened up with streaming and HBO and different things, you know, because we know you so well on the big screen, and now we're getting to know you on both. I mean, it's expanded, I think, interesting you in different ways, probably, to these kinds of projects.
Yeah, I mean, we were on the beginning of that wave of streaming and television opening up with, we were following Top of the Lake, really, as one of the female-driven TV limited series, and then Big Little Lies. And that was sort of the beginning of a huge shift, particularly for women on television in that limited series capacity. And obviously now, you know, the whole thing is just taken off. I mean, prior to that, there'd been, you know, a number of limited series, but not really. There was True Detective, which was pretty much male driven, and then there was Top of the Lake, and then we followed with Big Little Lies. I
feel like, in a way, as somebody who watches, not who makes this stuff, but who watches it, that I was there at the beginning of all of this with you and your production company, Blossom Films, because I was able to see Rabbit Hole, which I believe was the first big production. I was able to see it through the secret little group I'm in, and just didn't know what I was seeing. They don't tell you in advance. And just, as you know, just blown away by that. And I couldn't wait to write about it, which I did right as it hit the Toronto Film Festival. And that was the beginning of your production company, wasn't it?
Yes. And that was just one of those things. We made that for a tiny amount of money on the streets of New York. We were, you know, John Cameron Mitchell, we were so lucky to have him, and Aaron Eckhart, and it was just this gorgeous script written by the playwright David Lindsay-Abaire, who then adapted it for us. And it came in, and the first draft was what we shot. So yeah, and I remember you championing that, and I remember going, wow, this can't be true, because we were having trouble getting distribution, and we didn't know, you know, it's a difficult film to say to people, come and see this film. But suddenly we went to Toronto, and this is why I love film festivals. We went to Toronto, and you wrote about it, and a number of other people got behind it. And I remember sitting in the audience and going, oh, this is actually going to have a life now. This film is going to have a life. It's not just going to be sort of put aside and dismissed. So thank you. And that was the beginning of our little, there was Per Sari and myself with Blossom Films. And then we did Family Fame with Jason Bateman, which was also fantastic to have that opportunity. And then Big Little Lies came along. So
it's amazing. And you sort of go in a way, I mean, you know, you should have had no doubts about Rabbit Hole when you see that film, and you wound up getting an Oscar nomination for it as well.
Yeah.
You know, but it is hard for something you're making in an independent way. And I think that Blossom Films, your company, has sort of approached everything, making these things independent and then finding the right home for them where they're going to be seen. Is that a philosophy you guys live by there?
Yeah, and caring for them tenderly, you know, I mean, it really requires tender care, and just passionately believing in the material, and then being true to the people who are making it, and then sort of taking it to the world. And we definitely try not to spread ourselves thin, because we have to be able to focus. I'm not someone that can multitask and do a million things, so I'm that person that and always enter it through my heart. Like if I feel it, then I can go into it. But I can't sort of make myself do something that I don't believe in or that I don't feel. So, you know, that means you pass on some projects, or you pass on things that you just go, I wouldn't know how to take care of this properly. Yeah. And that's why we're shepherding something as a producer, and any producer will tell you this, is an enormous amount of work. It requires a huge amount of trust. It requires passion. And you really are sort of shepherding something and helping something, and not stifling the creativity of the filmmaker. And then I have to move from being producer into actor, so that I'm not stepping on the toes, so that when I'm acting for a director, I'm theirs totally as an actor. It's really, that I find that very important, that then I go, okay, I'm going to delegate certain things now over to the line producing part of it, and I'm going to really focus on the performance. You know that
there are titles, like producer titles, that people get, and it's sort of an agenting thing, and it's a deal that you make. You're a producer. You actually go out there in the trenches, find these properties, shepherd them through that horrible development process that it can take
years. Years, and you go, is it ever going to happen? Yeah, and a lot of it is putting the right people together and letting it percolate, and then trusting, and also dealing with each individual director is what I find really important, because each director has a different way of working, requires a different support system, and requires something. If I'm acting in it or if I'm not acting in it, requires certain things from me. And I've always been that sort of, you know, director-actor relationship is very important to me, just as the producer-director relationship is really important. And then cherishing writers. Right. Because the writers, when they bring you something, and when they develop it and they grow it, I'm just in awe of that. And I haven't always had a great relationship with writers. I mean, going all the way back to when I was starting out, and there was people like Terry Hayes in Australia who was writing for me, Phil Noyce and George Miller and Kennedy Miller, that whole production company really took me under their wing and wrote for me. And so I developed a really, really strong relationship with writers. And then when I did even say To Die For, and I had Gus Van Sant, who's such a powerful, you know, just the way in which he operates. He's so laid back, but he's a visionary. But I had Buck Henry, you know. And so that combination and being able to work with both of them together, I was like, oh, glorious. I mean, Buck Henry is one of the great American screenwriters. And subsequently, I've built, you know, with David E. Kelly, with people like even Billy Ray, who's a friend of mine, who's writing something for us right now. Just these, and David Lindsay Abaire, who's so much under with us. Alice Bell from Australia, who's a beautiful writer, and she's writing with Lulu Wang right now, who's writing, the two of them are writing Expatriates for us. And that's just a wonderful thing as a producer, to have those relationships with the writers like that.
That's amazing too, you know, and as an actor, you're taking it in your own hands here, because, you know, you have to in this business now to find the kinds of projects you want to do. As an actor too, you almost have to take charge. I mean, you can't wait for it to come to you, especially the way the studios are now. They're all just involved in, and you've done them, you know, the tent poles and that kind of thing. But to find these kinds of smaller,
I think to find things that also champion other women and other actors. You know, I was just doing an interview before this with Edgar Ramirez, who's an amazing actor who I got to work with on The Undoing, and, you know, just discovering him as an actor and saying, here's a great role for you. He has a great role in Undoing. He sat calling Hugh Grant and Susanna Bier going, listen, I know Hugh's the right person for The Undoing, and us being able to convince Hugh, because he needs convincing, that, you know, that he should come and work and explore this really complicated, interesting character, and together we can delve into this marriage, which is what The Undoing is about. And working with Susanna Bier on that was just being able to go to her, we have something, here it is, please come on board and direct all of it. And working with her was a highlight for me of my past few years. She's been incredible. Working with Andrea Arnold on Big Little Lies too, and watching her just go into this whole different realm, and having so many actresses that she had to, including, you know, the great one, Meryl Streep. And watching her just, you know, concoct this creation out of a second series, those things are real. That's really exciting. But then I also love to just go and do something where I'm just an actor, which is what I was about to do before everything changed. I was about to go to Ireland and do a film with Robert Eggers.
Oh,
so, yeah. So we're hoping that will still happen. But yeah, just so it's being able to, I suppose my whole career has always been this kind of weird, going in different tangents, and following a sort of almost like a spontaneous, just, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there. So there's not really, it's been a strange journey that's so magical, really sort of quite magical, the places I've ended up, and the countries and the stories. People always tell me I have to write a book, which I will not be doing, but
you're not going to write a book.
I have a lot of stories.
I'm sure it would be a bestseller.
No. I feel like for me, so much of my life and so much of my creativity, hopefully, is still ahead of me, and I would love to, you know, still be delving creatively into places that I've never gone. I'm always on this journey to explore what it means to be a human being in this world, and then what the different realms that exist are. So I'm always looking for that kind of place to go and explore and exist in with new people as well.
I'm curious about Big Little Lies too, in going to that. I don't think you guys had the intention of doing a second series. And after that, which was such an enormous hit, you obviously won Emmys for it and everything else, and it was water cooler conversation.
Yeah.
How do you follow that up, and how did they talk you into actually doing it again?
It was more just, we didn't want to walk away from these women. I think the storytelling was, we didn't want to walk away from these women. And we wanted them to be explored further, and being able to, I mean, it happens so rarely that an audience falls in love with a series like that, and with the actual people. And there is always talk of trying to, you know, do it as season 3, but bringing everybody back. We also just really enjoy each other. That's the other part of it, but you know, that's not the reason to make a series. They're really, I feel that it's very compelling what happens in the aftermath. What happens once an abuser is gone, but the abused is still existing with him and hasn't healed. That's a very, very interesting place to start. So just with me, with Celeste, to delve into what it means to now be raising 2 children without the father, even though he was the abuser. But this very, very complicated relationship. And what does that mean? Where does that go? Because she's still, and that's what the series explores. It explores that not wanting to leave, even if it's in your head, and what that means when that person has so much control and power over you, and you let that happen.
And his mother. And his mother
comes his mother, who's
with the great one, as you said.
Yeah, and she came in and just like with this exquisite character, you know, with the cardigan and the cross and all of the beautiful details that she brings to a performance, and made things like that scream and that and when I have to hit her. I mean, we had such, and then finally ending up in court where you just never. You know, when you talk about dramaturgy, that's so fascinating to have these 2 women basically dealing with their family issues in a court of law where you're watching it play out. But it's actually a mother of a son and a wife of a man, and he was the abuser, and both of them orbiting and circling that. And how do they deal with it? I mean, that to me is just like, wow. You know, and we did that like theater. We would just shoot, Andrew just shot each, we would just shoot the whole scene from beginning to end.
Wow. It's just, it's fascinating stuff to watch. I hope you do a 3rd season if you can find the way in to it. But I noticed you're doing.
I want some ideas. Leon Moriarty has some ideas. David has some ideas. Norman Fallet has ideas. Everybody has ideas. So, you know, there's certainly, it's ripe. There's ripe material there.
We may not have seen the last of Celeste here.
I mean, I would love to see what happens with Madeline and Celeste. I mean, those friendships that are formed, and Reese and I have our own friendship that exists separately to all of the work. But I just love working with her as well. I love working with Laura and Zoe and Shay, and just being able to play with them and watch them, you know. And I thought Zoe was just spectacular, the way she sort of delved into that whole storyline of what do you do with a mother who's been incredibly abusive to you as a child, and then dealing with, you know, a mother also wanting to die. So many secrets and things. So there's much to be explored. And I just finished working with Meryl, which was a really good thing, to work with her on Ryan Murphy's project, The Prom.
Did you finish?
We got to move away from Mary Louise and Celeste and go and become, you know, we were dancing and singing and just having, and James Corden and with Andrew. I mean, the cast is so big. I wish I could say Tracy, everybody in it was so fun, and we got to dance and sing. So Meryl and I got to shed. We were like, no tears.
I can't wait for that. I heard that you had to stop production just before this. In fact, I talked to James Corden, did this last week.
Yeah.
And he said it was just spectacular fun, but he had 1 day left. 1 day left to finish.
Yeah, I'm finished.
You did?
So,
yeah. I can't wait, because I saw that on Broadway just right after it opened.
Mm-hmm.
So great. So great. Such a
and about something filled with joy, but also about something, which is, you know, that's what Big Little Lies was. It was entertainment that had gravitas to it, and is dealing with topical themes which are really relevant, and that's wonderful when those two things collide. So to have a musical where it collides, with all of the what that's about, which obviously that's a whole other conversation, but it's just, I said to Ryan, I can't wait for people to see this because it makes you feel good, but it also makes you go, this isn't right and things need to change.
I think after we get out of this time that we're in right now, I think a movie like that is coming at the right time, probably, And
yeah, you never know. I mean, we had Undoing all set to release in May and we couldn't reach our post. So that was really, I was shattered that we couldn't get it there because I really wanted it to come out in May. I wanted people to see it. We put so much work into it, and it's a love letter to New York in a way. I mean, Susanna shoots New York like it's just this fairy tale. So that's coming out now, the end of October, and you just go, oh well, timing, But it's so strange when you just go, well, we have no control. We make the art, we do the best we can with it, and then watch where it all falls. And I've had things fall where they've something like Rabbit Hole unexpectedly soared. And then I've had other things that I would have loved to connect more deeply and they didn't. So it's always this. Go with the flow, right, Pete?
And just keep putting it out. I just saw your 9 Perfect Strangers you're doing for Hulu with Melissa.
Melissa, yeah.
Oh, and that's another.
I love.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She's so good. Well, she's so good because she does drama and comedy. She's drama comedy, and I really think she's untapped with a lot of the drama still. So it'll be great to see, and I get to be. Well, it's a really odd character that I play in that, so I get to go and do terrible things to her.
That sounds like fun. You have a deal with Amazon where they kind of have a first look deal, and you're doing several projects with Amazon, obviously with HBO too. Amazon.
But Jen Salke brought me into Amazon.
It's run by a woman, and that's rare in this business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when she took over, I sat down with her and we talked through things, and she bought Expatriates on the spot. And then we took it to Lulu. We only wanted Lulu. And Lulu jumped in, and Lulu has written with Alice the most beautiful series.
Wow.
So, and she's such a talent, that woman. So that's sort of percolating there at Amazon right now. It's, we have to get that off the ground, and everything right now. It's so interesting. You talk to people and you go, so what's the plan? And we have no plans, right? There is no plan. And that's a very unusual place to exist in for people that are used to having some sort of schedule or plan. But I'm like, okay, well then we just give over.
And wait. And
wait and let things, I suppose, try to still keep connected and talking and creating and thinking and I mean, talk about, I love the sense of daydreaming, and so there's an enormous amount of time right now to think, and I find myself waking up. A lot of things always permeate my dreamscape, so I wake up a lot during the night right now with ideas. I'm writing things down, and those things are coming out. They're coming out at like 2, 3 a.m. So it's very unusual.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, I'm getting deep sleep. I broke my ankle as well 7 weeks ago. Yeah, I did. So I was confined to bed, but now I'm up and about. It healed beautifully because I could do nothing, which is always great when you need to heal, right?
The timing was right, at least.
Yeah, my kids didn't think so. But yeah, it was interesting because I just had to really sort of just sit And I've been learning Italian and reading a lot and listening to music and, you know, just doing a lot of mothering as well, which is a great thing. I learned so much from it. You get to give so much, but I learned so much from them. So I have a little girl who's about to be 12, and then I have a 9-year-old. So that requires a particular form of mothering that's like exquisite to be able to be 24/7, because you're doing their schooling. You're not sending them to a school. So their schooling and their home, and you're dealing with all of the other emotions.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I'm curious to see creatively what comes out of all these new experiences that you're having now during this time, you know, because I think it's going to inspire a lot of interesting stories, you know, that once we get through all this and
I totally agree. I mean, right now we're all sitting with, I mean, when do we ever, I spoke to a writer friend of mine who said he's never been more productive in his life.
yeah.
He's just right, and then he has dinner with his family every night, but then he's just writing. So yeah, I think we're going to see, you know, who knows what will come out of it, but certainly we've never been through anything like it. So let's wait and see.
Well, I can't wait to see what comes of all of these projects, particularly looking forward to The Undoing in October. Did
you see any of that yet, or?
I haven't, no.
You didn't? Okay.
Yeah, I want to.
We had 4 episodes. We had 2 more to finish, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had 4 finished.
Yeah, I can't wait on that one and all the others. I mean, you know, stay busy and keep it coming, because it's special stuff. And you know,
I hope we all get to go back into the cinemas though and see films and go to those beautiful film festivals and wander around Telluride and
oh my God. That was so much fun. That was your first Telluride too. I remember.
Hell yeah. I was like, I can see a film.
I know.
I've been in a film festival where I've seen a film that's not my own film. I love this.
It's so great. It's fun. Well, it will be back, and life is normal, I hope. Anyway, thank you so much. Taking us behind the lens here today, Nicole, and really always great to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for chatting.